Tonight, once the sun has disappeared, you'll probably press a switch and instantly fill the room with light. And chances are, you won't give it a second thought. But for almost all of human history, that simple switch did not exist. When the sun went down, darkness took over. Real darkness. The kind where you could barely see your own hand in front of your face. Modern people almost never experience that anymore. For more than 300,000 years, your ancestors lived roughly half of their lives in deep darkness. For most of that time, they didn't even have candles. They had the night sky, the stars, and whatever fire they were able to keep burning. So what did humans actually do during all those long dark hours? The answer changes the way we think about sleep, stories, and even what it means to be human. To understand it, we have to begin with fire. Fire made the human night possible. The earliest strong evidence of humans controlling fire comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, from around 1 million years ago. But fire did far more than keep people warm. It changed the structure of human life. Before fire, our ancestors behaved much more like other primates. When daylight ended, you found shelter, climbed somewhere safe, and stayed still. Moving around after dark was dangerous. At night, humans were vulnerable. Our eyes are not built for darkness the way many predators' eyes are. Leopards, hyenas, wolves, and other hunters could move through the night far better than we could. Fire changed everything. A campfire created a small protected zone, a circle of safety. Within that glowing space, predators were far less likely to enter. But beyond the firelight, the danger remained very real. For early humans, staying close to the fire could mean staying alive. But protection was only part of what fire gave us. The useful part of the day ended when the sun disappeared. Depending on the season, that might mean only 8 to 12 hours of active time. Fire extended the day. Suddenly, humans had 2, 3, sometimes 4 extra hours after sunset. And across thousands of generations, those extra hours helped shape who we became. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner published a study after spending years recording conversations among the Jew/Hoansi people of the Kalahari Desert, a group whose way of life offered rare insight into older human patterns. Her findings were fascinating. During the day, most conversations were practical. People talked about hunting, food, work, complaints, plans, and decisions. Daytime conversation was mostly about survival and organization. But at night, around the fire, the tone changed completely. The majority of conversations became stories. People shared tales about distant places, adventures, myths, jokes, memories, and imagined worlds. The fire became more than a source of heat and light. It became the first stage, the first classroom, the first gathering place for culture. Around the fire, humans learned to think beyond the immediate moment. They imagined. They taught. They laughed. They remembered. In many ways, this is where human culture began. But the night was not only about storytelling. There was another part of human nighttime life that modern science has only recently begun to understand. The way we sleep today may not be the way humans naturally slept for most of history. In 2001, historian Roger E. Kirch published research that changed how many people thought about sleep. After studying historical records for 16 years, he found hundreds of references to something called first sleep and second sleep. These references appeared in prayer books, court documents, diaries, medical texts, personal letters, and even ancient literature. The pattern was surprisingly consistent. Many people did not sleep in one long, uninterrupted block. Instead, they went to bed not long after sunset, slept for around 4 hours, woke up for 1 or 2 hours during the night, and then slept again until morning. This was not seen as a sleep problem. It was normal. During that quiet waking period, people did all kinds of things. Some prayed. Some reflected on their dreams. Some wrote. Some visited neighbors. Some simply stayed in bed, awake in the dark, thinking. Medical advice from centuries ago even described this middle-of-the-night period as a good time for study and reflection, because the mind was calm and the world was still. For a long time, historians overlooked these references because they assumed people had always slept the way we do now. The modern idea of one solid night of sleep was so familiar that older references were often misunderstood or mistranslated. Then science began to support what the historical records had been showing. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Ware conducted an experiment at the National Institute of Mental Health. He took volunteers and removed artificial light from their evenings. For a month, they experienced 14 hours of darkness each night, closer to what humans would have known before modern lighting. Within a few weeks, every participant settled into the same rhythm. They slept for about 4 hours, woke for a quiet period of 1 to 3 hours, and then slept for another 4 hours. No one instructed them to do this. Their bodies simply returned to it. It was as if an older pattern had been waiting inside them, hidden beneath centuries of artificial light. During that waking period, Ware found that participants entered a unique state. Their hormone levels changed, including elevated prolactin, a hormone associated with calm and relaxed states. The participants described the experience as peaceful, reflective, and almost meditative. It was not simply being awake. And most modern people rarely experience it anymore. So what happened? Light happened. In the 1600s, cities began placing lamps in the streets. Paris became one of the first major cities to do this under Louis XIV, partly as a way to reduce crime. London followed. Little by little, the night became less dangerous and easier to move through. Then candles became cheaper. Gas lamps arrived in the 1800s. And in 1879, Thomas Edison commercialized the electric light bulb. Within a single generation, the night humans had known for hundreds of thousands of years began to disappear. Even the word curfew points back to this older world. It comes from the French couvre-feu, meaning cover fire. In medieval towns, a bell would ring at night to tell people to cover or put out their fires. The night was meant to be dark. It was a time for sleep, caution, and vulnerability. For much of history, being outside after dark was suspicious. In some medieval cities, walking at night without a lantern was illegal. Darkness belonged to danger, criminals, and the supernatural. Then we filled the darkness with light. And we called it progress. But something was lost in the process. Today, many people are exposed to artificial light for 7 or 8 hours after sunset. This light, especially blue light from screens, affects the body's production of melatonin, the hormone that helps regulate sleep. Your body does not fully understand the difference between the sun and artificial light. When bright light reaches your eyes late at night, your brain can interpret it as daytime. That delays melatonin, disrupts sleep, and interferes with the natural rhythm humans evolved with for millions of years. Studies have found that when people go camping for just 1 week without artificial light, their melatonin cycles begin to shift earlier. Their bodies start preparing for sleep closer to sunset again. We did not only change the time we go to sleep. We may have erased an entire part of the human night. That calm, reflective space between first and second sleep has mostly disappeared from modern life. Instead, when we wake up at 2 in the morning, we often call it insomnia. But what if it is not always a malfunction? What if waking in the middle of the night and lying quietly in the dark is not your body breaking down? What if your body is remembering something ancient? For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors lived with the night in a way we can barely imagine now. They gathered around fires and told stories that helped build culture. They slept in 2 phases, with a quiet period of reflection in between. They lived under skies so dark that the Milky Way was not something special you had to travel to see. It was simply the sky. And when they woke in the darkness between first sleep and second sleep, they lay there with their thoughts, their dreams, and the coming day. We traded that world for a light switch. And most of us never realized what disappeared.